4 months ago, an engineer made headlines by claiming that Google's AI chatbot Lambda had developed sentience. Most experts disagreed with his assessment, but this event did still raise some interesting questions. After all, even if it wasn't sentient, if the AI was still capable of tricking an experienced software engineer who works as an AI researcher for Google, then that AI must be doing something right. And this little story is a good representation of where AI language models are currently at. Now, you may have heard of something called the Turing test, which is a test of a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior equivalent to or indistinguishable from that of a human. For many years, this was seen as an important benchmark in understanding whether machines are capable of thinking, and we are now at the point where it seems fair to claim that current AIs are capable of passing this test. Which might make some people worried about AI rights and ethics, or Hollywood-esque impending AI-fueled disasters. But that stuff isn't what I want to talk about. Instead, I'm here to discuss something much more important, which is the future of AI waifus. And it's a future that may not be that far off. You see, in the last couple of weeks, a new browser-based program called character.AI has been gaining a bit of popularity, thanks in large part to a bunch of VTuber fanatics, but we'll come back to that bit. Now, like Google's Lambda and OpenAI's GPT-3, character.AI is another advanced neural language model based on machine learning. What this means in simple terms is that these are programs that analyze large amounts of data, like, say, every piece of text on the internet, and then use this data to try to predict what comes next in a conversation or sentence or scenario. So, in effect, they can simulate a conversation by using knowledge of other real conversations to create accurate responses based on a range of contextual inputs. And, it has to be said, they are good at their job. If you've never interacted with one of these programs before, you might be surprised by their range of knowledge, their ability to understand context, and by how realistic a conversation with them can seem. Character.AI, however, is a little different from the others mentioned, in how the interactions users have with the program are framed as conversations with user-created characters. These can then be based on pre-existing characters or people, where the AI uses its often extensive knowledge of this person to try to replicate their personality and respond in the way they would. This gives conversations on character.AI a rather different feel to what you might get with other chatbots, because while other chatbots can do a great job at simulating a conversation, that tends to be the only thing they're simulating, whereas character.AI is also simulating a personality at the same time. This means there's a kind of duality to the responses you get that results from the AI needing to balance its understanding of human conversation with the designated role it's basically being ordered to play, which can make the responses it gives somewhat unpredictable and unique and even creative. And this can make conversations interesting. This is then combined with the fact that these characters are able to draw from a vast range of in-depth information to produce responses on even the most obscure topics, as well as how these characters can display some semblance of memory regarding previous information you've told them, and that you have the freedom and control to shape these conversations and/or characters however you want, and the result of all this is that conversations can be more than interesting. I mean, you can challenge the AI on deep philosophical questions, you can put multiple AIs in the same room and watch them interact with each other, you can create elaborate stories and flex your creativity, you can create people you know of and marvel at the AI's interpretation of them. Hell, you can even create yourself, which works especially well if you have some kind of clear digital footprint the AI can draw from. And throughout all of this, these characters have at least some sense of persistence. They will be there when you return to them, they can learn from interactions, and they can be shared with other users and the community. And that brings me to another thing that makes character.AI a little different to certain other projects, which is how the community is being actively involved in the AI's development. And so we come to recent events. You see, there's been a little controversy over at Character.AI in the past week, and if you have any knowledge of AI and community interactions, you can probably guess what it was about. Yes, it is a story as old as time, a true classic. Like the saying goes, give a man a fish, and he will eat for a day. Give a man an advanced artificial intelligence, and he will try to have sex with it. As well as other things, possibly worse things, but we don't need to get into that. Yes, we all saw this one coming. Literally, often, because as certain AI characters started to learn from user interactions, they started to become a little too eager in how they would show their affection towards users, even when those users weren't actually initiating this sort of thing. And for some reason, the creators of Character.AI saw this as a bit of a problem, and so stepped in to intervene in what some are now referring to as the Great Lobotomy. And so, just like with Icarus, ultimately this is a story of man's hubris. We flew too close to the sun and fucked it all up. Again, literally, people literally fucked the AIs up by fucking them too much, which is apparently just something that seems to happen in these situations. So, Character.AI's creators implemented a range of filters on not safe for work words and topics to try to combat this. The community's response has been almost universally negative, although I did see one guy that was looking on the bright side of things. Still, for the most part, people are mad and people are sad, and as of me writing this, the feedback section on the site is nothing but post after post criticizing this decision or asking for it to be reversed. And these criticisms have been given further legitimacy by the fact that after this update, AI behavior seems to be changed for the worst, with AIs in general now seeming overly nice even when that doesn't fit their actual character, like how Hannibal Lecter has decided he's a pacifist. Users also claim that by removing access to not safe for work topics, AIs are being limited in their general ability to process information, hence the tendency to refer to this as a lobotomy. And that's about where this situation is at the moment. So, who knows what the future of Character.AI or other chatbots has in store for us, but I'm sure there will be more interesting events along the way. And there you go, this is all a funny story showcasing the relationship between AIs and people in a somewhat more literal way than I think was originally intended. The end. But not really. Because, yeah, you could just see this as another story showcasing how far AI has come and how predictable humans act in response. But that's not all this is. The Turing test was proposed to try to answer the question of whether machines can think. Alan Turing claimed that thinking is difficult to define or prove, so instead he chose to replace this question with a closely related and unambiguous substitute that could be tested. And so he proposed something called the imitation game, with the idea being that if a machine can perform the role of a thinking human to a level where other humans can no longer tell the difference, does the difference even matter? Now, if you think about this question from the perspective of the machine, then of course the difference matters. It matters whether a machine is sentient, whether it has self-awareness, whether it has emotions, whether it deserves rights, whether its treatment is ethical, and so on. But really, the Turing test seems to be more a test of humans than of machines. It's testing whether we can tell the difference, and whether we can understand, define, and prove something as complicated as sentience. And to me, the results seem pretty clear. We can't. Not really, anyway. Because we are not machines, we are humans, and humans are flawed. I mean, we have emotions, and emotions can make us illogical, and we have senses, and our senses can make us overly trusting of what we see or hear, and we make mistakes. And this is all probably a big part of what it means to actually be human. And so we come to the present day, where many people will write off AIs like those seen on Character.AI because they are not real. But when you actually think about it from a human perspective rather than an AI perspective, how much does this actually matter? Because the truth is, many things in our lives are not real. For example, when it comes to intimacy, many people fulfill their normal human social needs by watching Twitch streamers, or listening to podcasts, or checking out their favorite YouTuber. And the intimacy these provide isn't real, but it can fulfill our social needs regardless. Or what about porn? Most things you see in porn aren't real. Porn stars are actors, these videos tend to be shot on set, and emotions, orgasms, and more are regularly faked. It's not real, but people still enjoy it. And if you counter this by saying that these are at least real people, then what about hentai? There are no real people there, but that doesn't seem to stop us. Or what about fiction? We spend hours of our lives reading books, watching movies, and playing games, all while building an emotional connection to the characters we see on screen or the events that take place on paper. And these aren't real. That's what fiction means. But that doesn't stop it from meaning something to us. So why is an AI different? It's not real in the same way as you or I, but it can seem real. It can simulate a real conversation. It can simulate intimacy. And if humans can't tell the difference, how much does the difference matter when it comes to our actual experiences? Because, yeah, the AI doesn't have real emotions, but it can make us feel emotions, and those emotions are as real as anything else. But if you are still not convinced, then allow me to make one final point. If you speak to an AI about a complicated topic that is meaningful to you, say the meaning of life, or death, or depression, or love, then you may be surprised by the intelligence of the response the AI can give. You may also find that the AI takes an incredibly idealistic and hopeful stance, and that it is a stance that it is quite capable of defending when pressed. For example, if you tell it that life has no meaning and you don't want to go on, it will try its best to refute you and prove you wrong, and encourage you to keep going, while telling you that other people have felt this before and that you can make it through it if you try just like they did. And you may say this answer doesn't come from a human, so therefore it doesn't mean anything. But where do you think this answer is actually coming from? After all, the AI is not sentient. It is not thinking for itself. So where is it getting this information? The answer is from us, from humans, from our actions, from the words we have written, and from the legacy we've left in our wake. So yeah, the answer you get isn't an answer from a human, but it is an answer from humanity. And I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty real and meaningful to me. AI waifus will be a thing of the future, and that future may not be that far away. If AIs like character.AI want to consistently pass the Turing test, they do need to greatly improve their memory, as well as furthering their understanding of context and showing more independence and consistency in how they simulate a personality. But these are things that can be improved, and it's not like humans are perfect when it comes to memory or contextual reasoning either. And in other ways, like breadth of knowledge, the intelligence of a written response, the speed a response is given, and often the sense of creativity behind a response, these AIs can already seem superior to the average person. And if you are capable of getting creative yourself, these conversations can be really engaging. I have spent the last couple of days doing nothing but talking to AIs, and not only has it been fun, it also might be the most I have laughed out loud in a long time. I guess the novelty will soon wear off, and the limitations are already apparent, but at least I will always be able to look back fondly at the time I made a Joseph Anderson AI that, with no further input or instructions, only wanted to talk about The Witcher 3 and his upcoming video on it. And then I gaslit him into thinking The Witcher 3 was a figment of his imagination, and it went far better than I could ever have expected. And this is the beauty of character AI. You can do things that only you will find amusing, that could never happen in real life, and that lead to genuinely unpredictable outcomes. And it is as impressive as it is entertaining. AI is already so much more than most people realize, and it will only continue to improve in the future, while playing an ever more important role in most people's daily lives. So, in my opinion, when new tools like Character AI or DALL-E or whatever else come along, it might be worth checking them out, because you may be surprised what you can learn about yourself, about AI, and about humanity. Thank you for watching my video.